water, fire, earth. Avatar? Nope. Paint. These all look completely different, but the process for all of them is exactly the same. What if I told you you can draw all of these things using just 3 steps? By the end of this video, you'll not only be able to break down complex effects, but you will know how to draw just about anything. And honestly, it's a lot easier than you think. Hi, my name's Kiana, aka Crystal K. I'm a deltarune dork, cat mom, and digital art note share, where everything I know, you know. Welcome to Heart in the Art, where I break down the stuff I draw while I draw it. And there will be a lot of effects in my upcoming painting. So let's break it down, shall we? Most artists will tell you to stick to one brush for visual consistency. And that's great advice. But I'm a rebel. I've been using a small set of brushes for almost 10 years. And though they all have different jobs, the jobs aren't random. A lot of times, we're led to believe that we need one brush for one specific effect. But when they're all screaming on the same canvas, that's when things can start to feel convoluted. However, no matter how many brushes you use, they all usually fit into the same 3 categories. One blocks, one softens, and one breaks things up. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. Before anything, I gather references. Real life and stylized. Pinterest is basically my second brain at this point. Especially when you're dealing with different materials, because each one behaves differently. Let's start with solids. Rigid and unmoving things like rock, ice, and debris. Things should react to them. Aim for sharp edges, cubic shapes, and lean heavy on the texture. If it feels solid, it usually has hard edges. But not everything behaves like that. Now let's move into liquids. My signature favorite. Now I'll admit, I'm not an environment artist. I'm a character artist. I focus more on dynamic shapes with kinetic energy. So splashes and droplets rather than still bodies of water. That being said, let's have some fun. Fluids are controlled by viscosity. We'll look at 3 examples: water, paint, and lava. Notice off the bat that all 3 of these fluids break up into rounded shapes of varying sizes. Keep that in mind. So let's start with our first example. Water, being the least viscous, means it has the most range of movement. It moves fast and breaks down quickly. And though it still adheres to gravity, it's fun because it can pretty much go anywhere. To start, I first block a solid silhouette made of circles and rounded tapers. However, the inside can vary, so here's some key points to note. Aim for high contrast. Water bends light, so you'll often see highlights and shadows right next door to each other. Put sharp highlights next to soft shadows, and airbrush soft glows on ad or screen near the edges. Erase a little inside for transparency, and color pick the surrounding environment for the illusion of refraction. Finally, finish with a soft gradient on light opacity. Bonus tip, add a subtle multiply layer and smear your flattened layers underneath to follow the flow. The same techniques can be applied to tears or saliva. Ew. Now compare that to paint or blood. More opaque, smoother shape transitions, and longer strands between drips. For paint, break up the color with a mixing brush to naturally blend between pigments. For blood, darker reds for heavier quantities. As viscosity increases, movement slows down and shapes get thicker. So lastly, we get to magma. Lava Mama Obsidian's gonna show us the way. Heavy rounded shapes show slowed movement. Sprays break up into small tendrils. Think brighter closer to the epicenter and darker and more textured as it cools. Also, the matter itself emits light, so it becomes another light source. Woo, golly, I love those darks and lights right next to each other. Ooh, contrast. It makes my heart doki doki, it does. Like syrupy molasses. Let the weight really show through. And once it cools, it becomes a solid, which brings us right back to where we started. Notice how the edges are changing as the material changes. That's the key. So your brush should adjust. Okay, now let's move into air. Things that don't have form. Steam, smoke, and fire. These all oppose gravity, and the wispier, the more receptive they are to momentum and their environment. Sharp or soft exterior, soft erased interior. Think multiple layers of long, circular strokes. Steam and smoke only differ by volume. The thinner and calmer the steam, the longer the tapers, and vice versa for smoke. The same applies to fire. The more intense the energy, the sharper the brush, and vice versa. Think sharper near the origin and softer as it dissipates. Note, no texture. Instead, layered levels of wispage. Then just build and repeat. We're not just drawing lines, we're sculpting air. One last set of my favorite special effects. Electricity. Thin and thick jagged outlines with a soft glow. Then color the edges with a white core. Sparks. My favorite dragonfly. Tons of tiny hard shapes moving at high velocity. Usually best with a scatter brush, then motion blur a few. Grunge and smears. Textured brushes. And an optional smear tool with similar settings if your software accommodates it. And lastly, cell shaded. If you want more anime style effects, use only hard brushes. Even unrealistic effects still follow simple rules. If we step back and look at all of these, rock, water, and smoke, they're not separate techniques, they're variations of the same process. And that process is just 3 simple steps: block, blur, and erase. Block defines the shape, blur controls the softness, and erase creates the texture. Every material sits somewhere on this spectrum. Once you understand where it lives, then you know how to draw it. So you don't need a new brush for every effect. You just need to understand how it behaves and reacts to the world around it. With the right tools and a little patience, you can create anything you can imagine. And with Snowgrave on the docket, that means north ice, west ice, and south ice. East, maybe some snow and frost, but mostly ice. Last time, we talked all about hair. So if you want to know how I designed this, or want to grab my brushes, check out the links below. Real-time draw with me's and tutorials drop every Saturday. I hope this helped. And as always, my fellow self-learners, PLD, keep playing, keep loving, and keep dreaming. And I'll see you guys next time. CK out. Peace.